Hey guys, Dibs the Awesome here to give you another Monster Legends Guides, where we talk about monsters' moves, rune sets, partners, all that jazz. Today we are looking at Rabies, the last monster in the 7 Deadly Sins event. A lot of people are really happy that this thing is the last monster, and it's apparently a guide that you guys really want me to get posted right away, or at least my thoughts and feelings on it, or at least that was like a conversation last night. So yeah, I'm gonna post it first. I'm gonna, I'm just, not first, but I'm posting it, tonight. So as of Monday, yeah. So yeah, let's talk about him. Right, like I just said, Rabies is the last one in the event. He is the most self-destructive in the entire game. I'm not even kidding. You think Barbatos was self-destructive? You thought Razul was extreme? You thought Dharmaspet's ultimate was as far as self-destructive could possibly go because, instantly and spontaneously killing yourself, bring someone with you. That's pretty much self-destructive. No, this guy tops it. In terms of just the amount of moves he has that can harm him. He's the king of harm, self harm specifically, but also other person harm. He does a lot of that too, but a specific person. In terms of, in all honesty, he doesn't have an AOE. That's the first thing you should know about this monster here. He has no AOE. The second thing you should know about him, he is very very terrifying. In terms of design, I'd say he has one of the most terrifying designs in the entire game. This is like Diablo monster right here. If you guys ever played Diablo, this looks like something that would come out of Diablo, the video game, and I think the design is really really cool, and all that jazz. So yeah, the third thing you should know, this guy plays on a very high risk, high reward deal. Taking a note, since I said self-harming, he does health, like a lot of, like the high, like he does the most self-harming in the game. He also does the most, I don't know how to word it, but yeah, he's, high reward, as in, as he does his risks, his moves hurt. Specifically, he only has single target moves. But yeah, they hurt. But he has to set up first too. That's a thing too. He has to set up first before he starts going around destroying everything. That's kind of his main deal. He has to set. In all honesty, he has to set up first before he gets to do his dealio. You will, in all honesty, in war, you may very rarely use this guy, and I'm gonna tell you the team kind of like specific partners, or give you suggestions on who to pair this guy up with in specific war comps. So we'll get right into that. So yeah, let's talk about the monster. His power is 3,509. This isn't the highest power in the game, but it is above the gospel power, so this thing does not hit lightly. You'll see that he has a buff that gives him one of the best damage buffs in the game, and we'll get to that. But in terms of making the game quickly, in terms of ending the game quickly, that is. But I think that's kind of hindered by the fact he doesn't have an AoE. But again, we'll get to that move later. But right now, this power is really great. It's above the gospel power. It's a really healthy, strong, competitive power. Life is 25,032. Now this life is really low, and it makes sense. He's not the tankiest monster in the game. He's self-harming. Why would he be tanky? Thankfully, it's not worse. I'm happy it's not as low as 21k. I think 25k is, in terms of what this thing was meant to be. It's a risky monster to use. It fits the monster. It fits it perfectly. In terms of the amount of natural life at 100, I think that's what it was meant to be. In terms of a risk playing monster. That's a perfect life for risk-taking monsters, or at least that's the one we're more able to stomach with. In all honesty, for as low as it is, its speed is 3,454. This is a pretty awesome speed. Gets around a few of the attackers. If they were both running the same rune, he beats a lot of natural speeders, and I think that's really nice. And yeah, we'll get right on to the trait. The trait is immune to stun. This is helpful for several monsters, specifically Mega Ostium, What else? I guess Omega Osum is the only one at the moment that I can think of, but also Greedy Dragon, I suppose, who is the secret monster that I've been told for this event. You should totally get Greedy Dragon. But going back to this, this trait is pretty nifty in the fact he can't be stunned. Personally, though, you don't ever put this thing on defense. Like, that's another thing you should know about this monster. I think that's like number 5 now. Don't ever put this thing on defense. Never. Like, literally, never. Don't ever do this. Please do not put this thing on a defensive team in Team Wars. Even if it's, even if it's your only one. Even if it's your only fire monster. That's how, like how badly, poorly this thing defends. It's not a good idea to have this guy defend for you. Yeah, his best strength is when you're controlling him. In all honesty, he works better. Like, monsters work better depending on if they're controlled by the AI or the player. Or I guess the simpler the monster, the easier the AI has to use it. Like Voltic, for example, it's very NPC friendly. The best NPC friendly monster for the NPC to control in a fight. And you have this thing where you have to control this monster of what he does. You just do. He needs to set up first, and you have to be in control of it, so you can tell it right away to set up. He needs to set up right away. That's the huge thing about it. Blood Sin. This is his ultimate. Rabies gains double new words. Rabies gains damage boost and double damage. Deals massive special damage. Rabies will die after 2 turns. So this is an automatic setup. In all honesty, this seems really bad, but in a way it's really not. The cursed target thing isn't really the prettiest thing in the world. Hopefully you can clear that debuff. I'm gonna say that. Hopefully you can clear this debuff. Hopefully you get this move while you're under yeah, I guess I already spoiled it, but this guy gets triple damage. If you have triple damage and you use this move, that thing's for sure dead to begin with, but now you get, especially if it's on the last turn of the triple damage, which can be a rare situation, but if you do have this and you do have the triple damage off this is disgusting. This will either kill the monster or very nearly kill it, depending on if it's bulky or not. Most monsters are brittle in the game, so I think you'll have a pretty good time. The only drawback, it does die after 2 turns. I don't know if this is clearable. You should try seeing if this debuff is removable. Then you don't have to worry about it dying after 2 turns. And you do need a monster that can hold this guy's hand, because you'll see its self-destructive nature too. Soon, I mean. Feral Ferocity. None of these. No, wait, this wasn't the move I was going to talk about. Feral Ferocity. We usually don't talk about skill groups 1, but I wanted to suggest a move in skill groups 1. Before that, and it's not this one. It's totally not this one. It's this one, Fighting Frenzy. It's 45 damage, 28 stamina, 1 turn cooldown. It's moderate damage, and that's about it. There's no price to pay to use this move. There's like no payback. I highly recommend running this move. This is the second move you will use after you've set up. Once you set up, you will either use this move right away or you use another move right away. But usually it might be this one, depending on your situation. You might use this move immediately after you set up, depending on how bad the situation is or what you're actually dealing with. Even though it's not the highest damaging move, it's something that doesn't damage you. So in case in a situation you do get damage, it's kind of that nitpicky thing. Bloody Outburst deals moderate fire damage, may burn target, makes itself bleed, requires a cooldown of a single turn, 45 damage, 28 stamina. There's no point in running this skill, to be perfectly honest. In all honesty, he doesn't need to burn anybody. In all perfect honesty, he doesn't need to even apply a burn or anything like that. He doesn't need to do that. You don't really need to use the move slot for it. This is nice DOT. It's all right. It's great for tanks. It's not needed. It makes him bleed. You also got to take into account it's making him bleed, which also really not only reduces his life, but it also reduces the damage he does. There's really no point in using this move. The price, it doesn't really give out more. You could say it's risk and no reward for this move. This move specifically is just risk and not rewarding. This move specifically. So don't run this move. Whatever you do, run any pretty much run any other move that besides. Don't ever use this one. Please don't. Bad Tempered deals moderate special damage, gains damage boost, burns itself, requires a cooldown of 2 turns, 35 damage, 28 damage. Why is this even a move on him? This move, this is like a skill groups 1 move, in all honesty. This isn't a great move. There's no point in it, because he has a better self-setup in skill groups 3, but beyond that, damage moves isn't all that much. The damage he does initially isn't all that much, and you know, it's just not worth running. The cooldown it's not too good of a move, and you're burning yourself too. Another, pretty much the equivalent of bloody outburst. You know, just don't run either of these 2 moves. Just don't. Pretend these 2 don't exist. In all perfect honesty, pretend these 2 moves don't exist. Because this one makes him bleed, and this one just sets him on fire. It's unhealthy. It's unhealthy. It's pretty much just setting yourself on fire for nothing. Or just making yourself bleed for nothing. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like it kind of represents your thought of why you're using this monster. If you do use these moves, it's kind of like, why am I using this guy again? Where's the reward? I can't find it. But yeah, don't use bad temper. Don't use bloody outburst. Just don't. Free violence deals very heavy special damage. Damages itself. Requires a cooldown 2 turns, 60 damage, 28 stamina. You do run this move in all honesty. Losing 10% of your health is not pretty, I will admit, but there's a way to get around that. This is the first move that's kind of risk/reward. Just be happy it's not any higher than 10. You know, like the rest of the, like in terms of like the main move set, it only takes it takes a natural 10% of your life. In all honesty, just for like this, this move and another move. And you have to clear, there's the self-setup move, I think, burns you too. But we'll get to that, But anyway, you do run this move. This is kind of one of your main beater moves. If it's, like, in a situation where you really need to kill something right away, you do use this move. You use this move second. You use Fighting Frenzy, whenever it's not really something, like, it's not too drastic of a fight, but if it's a really heavy, like, life-ruining fight, you do use this move immediately after you set up. This is the move you use after that, because it just takes 10% of your life. You will kill something. Yeah, like once you set up, you will kill. In all honesty, you will kill something, like anything. Once you set up triple damage, you just have to set that up first. Mind Heat may burn all enemies. May burn all enemies, make enemies very weak against fire attacks, burns itself, requires a cooldown of a single turn, 0 damage, 25 stamina. Okay, so you would think I would recommend this move, it makes everyone weak to fire. He does actually have a 70 damage move. Well, Dib, don't you think you should totally run this move so you can get through fire monsters? He doesn't need it. In all honesty, he doesn't need it. Like, you can set up with Ravaging, you can set up with a setup move, which is this move. We'll get to that soon. Then just use free violence to kill it. And he doesn't necessarily need to make everybody weak to fire, because once he's set up with Ravaging Bodies, he doesn't need setup at that. He doesn't need to set up anymore. All you need is a target, and he'll pub stomp it for you. A specific person. He doesn't have an AOE. That's one of this guy's drawbacks. He doesn't have an AOE. I think they did that first. I think Social Point made that so it doesn't just instantly wipe the field and spontaneously right away. I think that was the point of this monster. It's just meant to be single target oriented. That was the meant to design. It's a high risk, high reward monster. In terms of the fact that once it's set up, it can clear anything you want off the field. That's the point of the monster. Ravaging Body gives triple damage to itself, burns itself, and damages itself. So it takes 10% initially after you use this move. It takes 10% of your life, and another 15% after once it gets to move, and it does that continuously for 3 turns. This is not a pleasant thing to be. This is where it actually starts to get high risk, high reward. You get triple damage for, it's a single turn. Never mind, it's not for 3 turns. Well, that's awkward. I thought it lasted for 3 turns. Yeah. So apparently this only lasts for 1 turn, which isn't good for it. Yeah, it's really not good for it. I actually thought this was a 3 turn. I read this wrong when I initially looked this over. So basically, you just get to take out 1 monster for free. So, increase of the risk factor. You will for sure kill. At least you'll for sure kill one thing next turn. One thing next turn will for sure die. Once you roll triple damage. The ugly thing is that cooldown. 4-turn cooldown's disgusting on it. So you'll for sure kill one thing. You'd have to struggle with the whatever you have to deal with after. That's kind of bothersome. That's really bothersome. Then you can't really run the extra guy. I think my main rune set build might actually change. It might. It just might. Man, this makes it harder. But yeah, this is a sweet move. Once you've used this move, you pick and choose. Oh, I feel really awkward now, man. You pick and choose. You pick and choose. I get this point. Yeah, you pick and choose a specific person you hate, and then you just proceed to beat them to death. That's kind of the point of this move. This is it's just a setup move. Fatal Fury deals massive fire damage. Damages itself. It takes 10% of his life away. It requires a cooldown of 3 turns. I didn't even know this was a 3-turn cooldown. I thought it was 2. I misread all. I seem to have misread some important details here. But yeah, Fatal Fury. Again, I just read it. It does 70 damage. Very high in damage. Personally, here's the situation. You would use this after. You would use, in all honesty, this is a recommended move. In all honesty, you use this on the thing that's not fire. That's as simple as that. So the move set, here's what you actually have to run on this thing. You have to run Fighting Frenzy. It's the only move that doesn't harm him in any sort of form or way. In all perfect honesty, you have to run Free Violence. It's a good scaling move in terms of damage output. It's just 60 damage is 2-turn cooldown. Small risk of using 10% of your life. And then you use Raving Body. That hasn't changed. I'm still gonna recommend Raving Body. It's a setup move. You would say it would kind of not be worth it to run it. You'd probably should run Mind Heat. Maybe you should. I'm gonna say that's kind of up to you guys on what to actually what you guys actually feel like. If you feel like running Mind Heat over like Raving Body, totally pick and choose your sin. But I still personally would go with Raving Body. I'm gonna get to partners real quick with this guy. It's gonna be very specific. This guy is very, in terms of partners, in terms of monsters he's paired up with, he is very picky about it. And I still have you run Fatal Fury, massive damage. Use this on the guy that isn't fire. The only problem really with this set specifically, I don't think you can clear the board with it. That's one of the problems. You can't really clear the board right away with it. So yeah, partners real quick. Yeah, that just kind of surprised me there. Partners real quick. Let me look through here. I do believe I have one straight up right away. You need to for sure pair this guy up with Invarv. If you literally use this guy for war at any instance in time, pair this guy up with Invarv. He will clean your debuff. He'll clean a single one actually, in all honesty. But he's there to clean up your major debuff, specifically when you're currently on fire. And it heals you for that, in all honesty. He's gonna give you, like, the point of why I'm suggesting Invarv is it's an AoE life regen, stamina regen, and it removes all negative effects when he does use it. So this essentially not only does it help Rabies clean off that burn, but it also heals him for the life he just lost by setting up. Clearly the fight, like, if you do use this guy, the fight's gonna take a while. I think that's all right for him. Yeah, that's actually not all right for him. But but yeah, you get the point. It clears the debuff. it clears him being on fire. Wow, man, dude, that surprised me. That really surprised me. Clearly, I didn't read this right. But besides Invarv, what else would you use? You could probably use an initial buff booster. Demise. In all honesty, Demise would work. Demise, Journal Invive, like a bunch of light monsters, like light monsters in this category. I think there's a lot of monsters in the light category that can help him out in terms of just removing buffs or debuffs. I mean, no, not buffs, debuffs. I mean, Journal Invive, Demise. You just gotta really hope they don't blind you. That's kind of a concerning thing, but yeah, beyond that. Yeah, again, you can only use this thing in like Legendary Wars too. You can't really use this all the time. In terms of the competitive scene, it's not going to be seen too much. These are really risky monster to use. So that's for light monsters. Metal monsters. What can you use for metal? Vanoss. Vanoss, you can Gangsta Vanoss you could use. The only problem is he's slow. A lot of people in the comments will probably say, "Oh, David's not a good partner for him. He's too slow." But you know that's just an option you may use. That's just a monster that could help him with the debuffs. I mean, so that's an option. I'm trying to look for things that don't spontaneously get denied. I don't think there's any magic monsters that could possibly help him. Gretchen doesn't really remove the debuff, so that's the only problem. She doesn't remove burning. I think with the life regen though, the life regen might be able to help a bit, but they won't be able to stop the possession at that point if they get constantly possessed. Dark monsters. Let's see if there's any dark monsters. You could run Fenrir in all honesty. You can run Fenrir to give him like triple damage straight up right away. I think that would work for the whatchamacallit guy, but he can't remove burning. Just keep that in mind. And he can't really heal off the damage he's gonna take while he's on fire. Kalik can help with in terms of just making sure he's not denied. It might not be the safest in all honesty, though. Water monsters, like if it's a water war, don't bring this guy, please. Don't bring Rabies. Don't bring Rabies to a water war. It's just no. It's just no. Don't no no no. I see anyone in the Thunder category. Monster Device. Monster Device can help. He can remove the burn. I mean, like, you keep him from getting burned too. So you could arguably, bad temper is still a garbage move. Never mind. But yeah, you would run. You could run a Monster Device to keep him from burning himself. That's a neat thing. But you still need another denier too. It's kind of I'm giving you like supportive options right now. Yep, nothing in the Earth category can really help him all that much. Maybe shield, nah, not shielding. Not even shielding though. It's just not enough. Burst healing from Cyan might come in handy, in all honesty. Oh, Sarah totally can remove the burn. So like so far, just pretty much the only besides light monster like Invar specifically, one of the hugest support partners to help him out, and you can't really save anything from the fire category. But pretty much you could probably only ever use this, only bring him up, where you can use a light monster. That's the only time you can really bring this thing in the war without risking really 3 coins or like a decent playable comp. You know what I get in terms of Team Wars. In terms of the competitive scene, it's not really the most safest thing to use. And again, that's kind of the point of the monster too. He's not meant to really be safe. I just thought there was a way to make him like, in terms of just like really like there's like a manageable. Yeah. I was really hoping this was a 3-turn triple damage, which it wasn't. It's a single turn. So yeah, overall, this monster is hard to use. In all honesty, to be fair though, that's the point of the monster. It is meant to be really risky, and there seems to be more risk than reward with this monster. It seems, or at least like the amount. Like there's great reward in terms of the fact you can just spontaneously kill anything, but I think at the same time it's kind of. It's kind of like in all honesty, anything that can set up can do the same thing. Like pretty much, Shalinar. Pretty much Shalinar. I mean, like, It's pretty much, in all honesty, this is like just a single target oriented Shalinar. It kind of is like that, or at least like he's meant to burst down shit, but it's harder to. He takes more time in it. He's immune to the stun. He's got great offensive stats, but he's missing out on everything. He doesn't have an AOE. Shalinar has like the weak to everybody thing. He has that too, but he doesn't have. He lacks the AOE. He lacks the AOE. He doesn't have like an extra turn move. He's got like a single. I mean, like a move that sets up triple damage, which is great. But like Shalinar, I think it lasts for 2 turns. Doesn't I think that buff lasts for 2 turns. I can't really look at that right now, but I think that doesn't that double damage last for 2 turns. I think it does. I'll check up on that later. But yeah, this guy was meant to take his time in all honesty, and he's meant to also hurt himself, which is not a good thing. So I guess it's just safe to say he's different. This guy's different. That's all you really need to know about Rabies in terms of play. He's just a different kind of play style. I don't know if anyone's gonna really turn to this play style all too much. I think it just for fun at times they might run this monster in like just PvP and just have fun with it with different ideas. I think Totem would be a fun partner for it. Totem would be a fun partner for this thing in terms of just PvP, and then like not in team wars, but obviously, but that's like in general play. People will probably just use this thing in general play, and that's just it. Nobody would ever bring this to a team war fight. Unless, of course, it's literally the only fire monster they have in their possession. So all in all, I don't think this thing is all that great for team wars. In all honesty, you can use it. In all honesty, you have to have a really good war rule to even use this thing. In all honesty, in all perfect honesty, yeah. in all serious honesty with you guys, this thing has to be a very, very nice war for you to use this thing, or you get the option to actually use this thing with a manageable comp. It has to have a denier that can constantly deny support. It's pretty much a monster that has, because it's a monster that has to have his handhold, like, throughout the entire game. It has to have his handhold for the entire game. I think that is taxing on attackers in all honesty. For an attacker, you have to make sure it can, like, does its job. It does its job well. It sweeps a lot. It does its job fast. You don't want the game to last too long. And this guy isn't really capable of that. This guy can't. Even if it's a 2v, in all honesty, even if it was a 2v2 fight, and you have it's in a war situation where your rare won't die spontaneously right away because you have it. Okay, let's say if you have your rare ranked up all the way, you have life runes, it's able to sustain itself. Rabies might actually die before the game ends. He might die depending on how bad just depending on the situation. Because he doesn't really die, but it's gonna take him time to win. He might die in all honesty, but it's gonna take him time to win the game. This guy struggles with a few things, just specifically not being able to make the game done right away. His buff goes away too. I think his buff needs to last longer. I wish his buff. In all honesty, I wish the triple damage buff lasted for 2 turns at least. I don't think the single turn is enough because once this buff goes, he still has to deal with another monster, and he can't fast sweep it right away. So your comp can't be a fast comp. It has to be a bulky comp because he can't do his job fast enough. That's just kind of like the overall thing. Man, I was really surprised that this wasn't. I was really prepared for this thing to be like a 3-turn triple damage buff. It's not a 3-turn triple damage buff. I misread that. But overall, yeah. Do I think this is a terrible monster? It's obviously not a safe monster. I would say in terms of team wars, it is terrible. In all honesty, in terms of team wars, in terms of any competitive scene, it's terrible because it's really reliant on what you have with you. He has to have. He's like a senior citizen. He has to have help. He has to have, he's got to have his nurse. He's old. You see these legs? These are old legs. He's been out there for way too long, dude. He's been out there way too long on the field. He needs to not be on the field anymore. he needs to not. But yeah, he needs is just in terms of team wars, he's really hard to use. He's in terms of just usability alone. There's very few situations where you may use this monster or use him well, or make sure or use him in the sense that he lives at the end of the day. So in terms of team wars, no, he's not. In terms of just like straight up the way the game is at the moment, no, he's not all that great. I just think the style is new. In all honesty, with this Seven Deadly Sins event, in terms of just like just like in terms of these monsters, Vanitas isn't. In all honesty, he only has like one new. He just has like a new move, and like everything else about him though is pretty vanilla, I'd say. But everything, like with these monsters was Avaritia, was pretty much like everyone's calling him Metal Heyman. I thought that was funny, and that's probably true too. Like in terms of metal monster stats, he's probably the equivalent of Heyman. On Perfect Honesty, he has a really fast speed. Like the health is all right, not too big. It's probably just 1,000 life and all. I think doesn't he have like it's probably the same amount of life. And the power stat in terms of just like what this other kind is terrible. That's pretty much Metal Heyman. It's pretty much Pig Redo. I think Pig Redo can do pretty much. He's slow, but he gives a unique state. And honestly, these three dudes. These three dudes. Minus Vanitas because he just does one thing new. Just like the burning and mirror. That's everything else about him is vanilla again. But with these guys specifically, they offer a unique style of play. Not really an amazing style of play. It's interesting nonetheless. Not saying good, but interesting. And that's about it. in terms of this maze event, I'm pretty sure a lot of guide makers or just like players in general think this is a terrible event. This is probably the worst one in terms of maze history. Looking like at all the other maze events, oh, absolutely. There was a lot more interesting monsters and all sorts of mazes. We got the elemental maze, gave us all the elemental monsters. All of them are used in the competitive scene. We got the winter maze event. I can't remember. I think that was the last one. I think the winter maze was the winter maze the last one. I think it was. Yeah, I think it was because you get the stuff from that maze event. It would make sense. And yeah, I completely lost my train of thought there. Oh man, I totally completely lost it there. But yeah, you get my point. I'm just saying it's new stuff, and it's not necessary stuff we can use for competitive play. In all honesty, maybe we will see pig in terms of between these three, more than likely Pig Redo. In all honesty, a lot of people are calling. A lot of people in terms of just describe my uploading videos lately. It's just related to this monster. It's like it must have been attacked by Pig Redo or something like that, or got hit by the I'll do it later I do it later move or something. They're calling it, yeah. I thought that was funny. It was a Discord comment thing. But anyway, I think in terms of just between these three monsters, I think people were, if anything, in terms of most use, people will mostly use this thing. And I like this. I like this thing's style of play. It's got the life regen. I said this one was the most interesting and unique in terms of just what he does. But this one, in terms of what people will actually use it, I think this one's pretty spot on. It has a regen move, heal move, all that jazz. But going back to Rabies now. Are you going to enjoy this monster? Probably in free play, not in Team Wars. Is this guy worth getting in the event? If you get him, in all honesty, if you just get over the coins, it's a free, at that point, it's just, you got everybody else in the event, totally get him. I mean, if you have, in all honesty, if you have over the coin amount, once you got everybody, and you do have enough for this guy, just, it's a free monster, why not? You add it to your collection. Keep it in storage, you probably don't ever use it. But, yeah, that's my thoughts on Rabies. Really hard to use, but I think that's the point of it. In terms of competitive, it's totally pointless. Totally a pointless monster. If you guys wanted to be just to straight up say it in terms of a competitive sense, is this guy usable or just is he good? No, he's terrible. And you can use him. As a guy, in all honesty, as a guide maker, I kind of make guides so you guys can use them in competitive scene. In all honesty, you can use any monster in the game in all perfect honesty, and you can make them on a competitive. You can make a competitive team for them, because like I said, I gave you a competitive team for Rabies. Just an overall sense though how great he is, and he's not all too great because he's really partner specific. He has to have Invar on the team. Just by looking at these moves, you have to have Invar with him. It would make sense. Invar is his best partner, or just like any light monster in general. Or like, well, not any of them, but you know, the stuff that can remove his debuffs. Yeah, it has to be paired up with one of those guys. He has to have a light monster with him, just to clean up some of the stuff he does. He could use a nature healer too. That's an option too. But beyond that, again, yeah, that's my view, and those are all my views and standpoints on this monster and quite possibly this event. It's just in all honesty. I think they're just bringing. In terms of maze events, these monsters bring out option. I mean, like new things to the table, but not in terms of competitive play. Just new ways to play the game. And it's not, it's not obviously not the best thing in the world. I'm just saying it's just something new. It just is. So yeah, that's everything you need to know about Rabies. Let me know what you thought of this guy in the comments below. Have I satisfied how you expected this video would be? I hope I did. I hope you got that words. I hope I made you guys happy. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. I'm Dib the Awesome. I'll catch you guys later.